I want to go to Ellie Honig now, former federal prosecutor and our senior legal analyst, along with Stephanie Grisham, former Trump White House press secretary who resigned over the January 6th insurrection. Ellie, let me just start with you. As I was speaking to Congressman Raskin, some new reporting from the Washington Post, reporting that DOJ investigators have specifically asked grand jury witnesses, so people like Mark Short, people who appeared before that grand jury, about then President Trump's actions as part of its criminal probe. Okay, about President Trump's actions. Yep. So until now, we knew they were interested in the people around him, but they're specifically saying that questions were about the president himself.
And what's really important now, Aaron, is we have people who might be able to answer those questions. People like Mark Short and potentially Greg Jacob. This shows me that this shows me that Merrick Garland, when he says nobody is off the table, up to and including the president, he means it. Now, let's understand that statement for what it is. It means he is saying, I'm not placing Donald Trump sort of beyond our reach, nor could he, nor should he. But I think what's really notable is DOJ is now inside the White House for the first time. That's a big change.
And Stephanie, as we hear, right, they're asking questions. This reporting's crossing, the former president seeing it. They're asking questions in a criminal grand jury for the Department of Justice about the president of the United States himself. Mark Short, the former chief of staff for Mike Pence, testified in front of that grand jury. The Georgia criminal case obviously is moving very quickly. You've got a lot of things moving quickly here that now are touching Trump himself. How does this affect him right now?
That's a tough question. He has dodged so many different inquiries, lawsuits, etc. So if I'm being honest, I think that he is seeing this as a challenge. He's seeing this as a loyalty test, etc. I worked for an attorney general in Arizona, and I do know how methodical you have to be to build a winning case. And so I do believe that's what they're doing. And I do believe something will come of this. But right now, I think he thinks he's going to retain his Teflon Don moniker and nothing will happen. I also think, today he kept hinting at his latest speech that he was going to run. I think that's continuing to be a distraction. And I think it's also continuing to keep his base riled up so that he feels he has people fighting for him.
Right, fighting for him and distracted from all these developments, obviously, that are coming out so fast and furiously, Ellie, finally. So the New York Times today, as part of this, things are moving more quickly. Just published some undisclosed emails. Okay, and these are emails between Trump advisors and lawyers, outside lawyers who are involved in the fake elector scheme that we know the DOJ has been focused on. So one of the aides who helped organize the effort in the state of Arizona called the electors fake in an email, and then follows up in another email saying, quote, alternative votes is probably a better term than fake. Smiley face.
With a smiley face.
How damning is that?
That is a really bad email for the person who sent that and for the person who received it. And here's why, Aaron, I think the fake elector scheme is sort of jumping off the page to prosecutors. Because as Representative Raskin said, we have a whole series of interlocking and sort of interbraided frauds, conspiracies, pressure campaigns here. But the submission of false slates of electors is tangible. It's on paper. They wrote down the fake electors and sent it in to the National Archives. And so there's a tangibility about that I think makes it more appealing investigatively and potentially in terms of a prosecution.
Yeah, in an email like that, you can't say, oh, it was just in case, it was alternative. It's in an email.
Yeah.
Fake. Replace it with alternative, smiley face. I mean, it doesn't get more clear than that.
That'll be up on the board someday.
Yeah, Stephanie, Trump had previously claimed, right? This has been a big part of his claim that he's the one who offered National Guard troops to be ready on January 6th. But his acting defense secretary, the person who would have received that order, says it is not true. According to newly released testimony he gave to the January 6th committee, I should emphasize under oath. Take a listen to it, Stephanie.
To be crystal clear, there was no direct order from President Trump to put 10,000 troops to be on the ready for January 6th. Correct?
No. That's correct. There was no order from the president.
I mean, again, Stephanie, under oath, loud and clear, exposing what the former president said as untrue. How damaging is it?
Yeah, I hate to be a Debbie Downer here. It's very damaging, I think, in a regular situation, but how many people now, how many aides who work for him, how many Republicans have said, no, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true, and how many things have been proven not true that the president has said. So I do believe this, adds to the case that the president lies all the time, the former president, I just want to say. But I don't know how damaging it is until the DOJ or the case in Georgia, something actually happens to him. I think at this point, for our country, and this is no pressure because, again, I understand how hard it is to build a winning case. I think until something actually happens, I just don't know how damaging it is.
Yeah, well, it's fair, and it's important that you state it like you see it. Thanks so much to both of you. I appreciate it.